We'll call the roll. Do we have the Gallatin Police Department here?
Yes, please.
Is Cody Bain here?
He's here, Your Honor. I'm here with him. My name is John Brown. I'm attorney from Nashville.
All right, Mr. Brown, thank you. Tennessee Department of Safety.
Yes, sir. We're good.
All right. Ashley Hill.
Not in the room.
Is she online?
Yes.
Okay. Lenore City Police Department.
Yes, sir.
Are they on? Oh, gentlemen. Shannon Runyon. Shannon Runyon. Online. Bartlett Police Department.
Here.
Charles Siegel.
Isn't here.
Is Charles Siegel online? Hendersonville Police Department. John Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is an informal hearing of the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. And basically, this group of commissioners that are here today, 3 commissioners and 1 alternate, are going to make a determination if the matter should continue or be recommended to continue to the full commission. Okay, we have we need to read this into the record.
I can read it.
Okay, we have a surrender before we get into today's docket.
Members of the commission, we have it just came in this week, a negotiated plea by Mr. Kenneth Lynn, formerly of the Hickman County Sheriff's Office. He had already been referred to the full commission for a hearing pending the outcome of a criminal case where he was charged with aggravated assault. He did plead best interest to aggravated assault, has been granted the possibility of diversion, but a part of his plea was that he agreed to surrender his post-certification. And I would ask that you accept that, please.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Passes. Okay, first matter is from the Gallatin Police Department. Mr. Bain was terminated after failing to report for duty and not contacting the Gallatin Police Department. Following his termination, Mr. Bain became the subject of an investigation opened by the Smith County Sheriff's Office and the 15th Drug Task Force. Would Gallatin Police Department please step to the podium? If both of you would identify yourselves for the record.
Assistant Chief William Sarles, Gallatin PD.
Lieutenant Chris Shockley.
All right, gentlemen.
We did employ Mr. Bain for some time, sent him to Walter State Academy. He graduated from Walter State Academy on 12/30/21. Sergeant King met him at the academy with the graduation with him, informed him of his hours to report at 1,800 hours on 12/5, which is Sunday night. Sometime in the afternoon of 12/3, he had sent Chief Bandy some email, some texts, kind of decrypted text that didn't really mean anything. He said he wanted to talk to him, never would answer the call. Chief Bandy tried to call him numerous times throughout that Friday, throughout that Saturday. Never would answer phone, sent a text that his phone didn't work. He tried to use his girlfriend's phone to call him back, never returned those calls. Did not show up for duty on 1,800 on the night of 12/5. On Monday morning of 12/6, I instructed Lieutenant Shockley and Lieutenant Ritchie to go find Mr. Bain, serve him a notice of termination and to pick up all of his gear. And I would let Lieutenant Shockley tell you the situation from that point on.
So on the day that Chief Sorrells mentioned there on 12/6, we went to Mr. Bain's residence there in Smith County on walking on to the patio.
They're gonna get into stuff that's not before the commission today.
They're going to report what they've encountered at the day. They're going to report what they found on that day.
It doesn't include what's in box number 3, which is what we're here for today.
They're here to respond to inquiries and to report why they're requesting the action by the commission.
So we're saying they're going beyond the bounds of what we're here for today.
No, we're not. This is what they're here for today. Continue.
Thank you, sir. So upon approaching the door, pretty much the main entrance to this apartment, I'm not even aware if there was a back door to this apartment. There was a substantially large bomb and a one-hitter in plain visible sight within inches of the doorway.
Lieutenant, just for those of us who are not necessarily familiar with those terms, can you explain what a one-hitter is?
A one-hitter would be just like something you'd use to smoke one cigarette of comparable size of marijuana. And again, just in plain visible sight there. Knocked on the door repeatedly for an extended period of time. Finally, we was able to get an occupant to open the door. We stated our reason there. We're in clear uniform. Obviously, being jurisdictional issues, we contacted the director of the drug task force there with Smith County. They came to assist us. Opened the door, the entire apartment, every room you're in, reeked of marijuana. It's clear that marijuana use is just common nature within that apartment. We found Mr. Bain in the upstairs bedroom along with his brother. Again, marijuana, reeked of marijuana. Director Thompson found approximately about a half ounce of marijuana within close proximity of that bedroom. I guess you would just say a little storage area just off from that bedroom. Ironically enough, every piece of equipment that was issued to Mr. Bain is right there, including his service weapon within close proximity of this illegal substance as well. There's absolutely no doubt that marijuana is being used and known, common knowledge throughout that entire apartment. So that I believe the brother made some admissions of marijuana use. There was very little interview or discussion with Mr. Bain, and we kind of left it, got our equipment obviously and circled with the termination papers and just kind of left the incident there with the task force to decide how to proceed with it.
Did they arrest them?
He was not arrested that day, neither party was arrested that day.
Lieutenant, the decision to terminate Mr. Bain was previous to this discovery of marijuana. That's
sure. Right. So as Chief Sorrells mentioned, he was scheduled to show up on 12/5 at 6 p.m. There was a no call, no show. I think there was some text messages that were sent to Chief. Again, there was not really any material within those text messages that would explain what the meeting was to be about. There was really no need for a meeting with Chief Bandy, but I'm assuming Bain was requesting a meeting. But when he abandoned basically the position with the department by not showing up for duty, we obviously terminated him. Had the paperwork issued for termination. Multiple phone calls, multiple text messages were sent and trying to get in contact with him to ascertain what exactly was going on. And we just didn't get any response. So it's clear he basically abandoned his position with us.
Do you know if he was charged on this marijuana case?
Last I heard, there's no charges. I still don't think there's any charges. I believe it's under advisement with the district attorney there in the 15th Judicial District. So I don't know if and when those charges may come back.
And this was back in what?
December the 3rd, or I'm sorry, December the 6th is when the narcotics were located.
So just this past December.
That's correct.
Had the guy at the police park paid his way through Walker State?
We did, sir. And approximately somewhere in the neighborhood, of about 8 weeks of employment, a pre-academy with us. So he had that time with us. Then your 9 weeks at Walter State. You know, we believe in fully equipped personnel, so brand new uniforms and everything. So fitted vest. Never worked a single day after graduating.
We're about $45,000 in the hole on it and got done.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Brown and your counsel. Sorry, yeah. Mr. Bain, Mr. Brown, sorry. Go
My
ahead.
name is John Brown. I'm an attorney here in Nashville. I've been practicing about 45 years.
Can he identify himself for the record?
Yes, sir. I'm Cody Bain.
Thank you.
Sorry. This is my first appearance before the Post Commission, so I'm looking at mistakes I experienced. Members of the commission, the dates are important in this case. Department has come in here with all manner of extraneous stuff that has no bearing on what brings us here today. On August 8th of last year, Mr. Bain was accepted as an officer trainee at Gallatin PD. Gallatin PD, very wisely, required Mr. Bain to sign an agreement. Because the department was incurring expenses on his behalf, he agreed in this signed agreement that if he did not go to work for Gallatin PD for at least 3 years, he would reimburse them for expenses they incurred on his behalf. I don't believe the gentleman from Gallatin PD told us about that. What's important here is that the Gallatin Police Department contemplated that the trainee might not go to work for Gallatin PD. In that event, he would owe money back to the department. So it was contemplated that something like this might happen. It has happened before, and I'm sure it will happen again. As stated, Mr. Bain attended the East Tennessee Regional Law Enforcement Academy up in East Tennessee. He worked hard and he studied hard while at the academy. He made the dean's list academically. While at the academy, he began to have second thoughts about whether he wanted to work for Gallatin PD. And we need to get these timelines straight, so please bear with me on this. He graduated on Friday evening, December 3rd, 2021. Gallatin representative was at the scene, told him who his field training officer would be, what shift he would be working, etc. That was Friday evening. On that date, there were no disciplinary charges pending against him. On Sunday, December 5th, 2 days later, Mr. Bain sent a text to Chief Bandy advising that he would not be coming to work for the Gallatin Police Department and that he would be paying off his contract as he had agreed to do. In other words, he resigned on December 5th. On that date, there were no disciplinary charges pending against him. May I ask if the commissioners have a copy of the text message that was sent? That part of the file. May I hand a copy up to everybody?
Yes,
If you wish.
yes.
Okay. Okay. You want me to go back?
While they're making the copies, would you like to continue on, or is it imperative that the copies come in first?
No, I just want y'all to have it.
No, I just want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's. So,
Thank you. Glad to proceed. This is the item that one of the Gallatin gentlemen says that they couldn't understand what it meant. So we could be the judges of that when we see it. One other thing, he says, I'll be paying off my contract with the department of extra money as well, and get everything turned back in. It's pretty clear to me, so I'm not sure why they couldn't understand that plan language. So he resigned on the afternoon of December the 5th. At the top of this item, anyway, it shows that the message was sent Sunday, December 5th, at 3:47. All right, so what happened is he resigned on December the 5th, clearly, in writing the best he could. On that date, there were no disciplinary charges against him. The very next morning, that would be Monday morning, December the 6th, the department reacted to this resignation. And here's what they did. They drafted a letter to Mr. Bain dated December the 6th, reporting to terminate his employment effective December 3rd. And that termination letter is factually misleading. On December 3rd, they had no intention of terminating him from his employment. They, in fact, told him when he would be working, who his FTO would be, etc. On December 5th, 2 days later, Mr. Bain, as I've showed you, notified Chief Bandy that he was resigning. It was only on the following morning, December 6th, that the GPD, Gallatin Police Department, reacted by sending a termination letter. So what they did, in effect, they fired him after he had already resigned. The time he resigned, he had no disciplinary proceedings pending against him. Shortly thereafter, the department submitted a decertification request, which is the operative document that brings us here today. It's backdated to December 3rd, so I want you to be aware of those dates. Only box 3 was checked. So it's our position that the department, Gallatin PD, must by preponderance of evidence show that at least one provision of the checked box applies. The only box that was checked was box 3. Some of this other stuff is make weight arguments by the department. It's by our position that we have to go by what the decertification request wants to. So do we have a copy of that?
It should be on that.
Sorry, I have copies of all this stuff. I assume the commissioners would have copies of
It's on the devices now, so the commissioners are aware on the iPad.
but I'm looking now for the decertification request. I have it if I need it.
We have that.
Rookie mistake on my part, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. This is my first hearing too, so.
All right, there's a decertification request and they check box 3. So it's our position that they have to come forward by preponderance of evidence and show that at least one provision of box number 3 applies. So let's talk about it. As of December 3rd, which is the date they put on the decertification request, backdated, Mr. Bain had not been suspended or discharged 30 days or longer. He had not resigned in lieu of termination. He had not resigned with disciplinary action pending. He had not been discharged by the department for disciplinary reasons on December 3rd. There were no disciplinary charges pending on December 3rd or at any other time. Police Department's decertification request must be seen as a retaliation against this officer for resigning from his job. The department has not sustained its burden of proof, and the decertification request must be denied. Now, with the board's the commission's permission, I'd like to ask Mr. Van a couple of questions, and then he'll be free to answer anything with the commission.
We usually don't, you can pose those questions. We usually don't direct cross testimony at this time. If the situation is not more of a interactive, but if you had some questions that you're looking to have answered, you can kind of ask.
Oh, I'm not wanting to cross-examine anybody. I want to ask my own.
Oh, your own client. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I understood who you were asking.
You're
Sorry.
here and you hear a lawyer going wah, wah, wah. I thought maybe you need to hear from the subject of the hearing today. Sir, do you want to be a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Why?
The past couple of years, being a police officer, something I've wanted to do. You know, the ability to try and make a change, make a difference. You know, it's more than a uniform. It's a sense of purpose, being something bigger than yourself. And I understand that. And I know in today's times, being a police officer is even harder than it's been in a long time. And I know that people need someone that's been through things growing up, the rough childhoods, the situations they've been through that they can talk to, someone that can relate, and someone that can be there for them. And just have the opportunity to change at least one person's life a day at a time, if anything at all, and just be able to be a part of something, like I said, bigger than myself, is something I really would like to pursue and do. Even with the mistake that I had made, you know, this is something that I would love to do. And I just want y'all to understand that.
When you went to the training academy up in East Tennessee, what sort of effort did you put out academically?
100%. I studied from the first day I was there until the last day I was there, until the last test was given.
And how did you end up?
I made the dean's list. Was able to maintain a 3.5 to 3.99 GPA throughout the 9 weeks of the academy. I was able to finish in the top 5 scores with the minute test, with the physical activities we had to do.
Did you have some physical issues during the 9-week class?
Throughout the 9 weeks, the first week, I did suffer a strained quad, which I was able to power through that, push through. And then about week 4, going through defensive tactics, I did have a shoulder injury. My shoulder popped, and I had to, you had to finish the week out. You have to get the test done and keep going throughout the weeks. But I was able to power through and stay committed as possible to get through those 9 weeks and to graduate.
Because you want to be a police officer.
Yes, sir.
Have you sought employment as a police officer while this certification issue is pending?
Yes, sir. I have spoke with 2 different departments, as both know what's going on from start to finish from this situation and the outside situation. And they both are interested in hiring me and would like me to contact them after the today, after the hearing, to let them know, if the post is revoked or if it's further on. And if I do get to keep it, that they would both be interested in hiring me.
You heard me tell the commissioners about a thing you signed when you took the job.
Yes, sir.
What was that? You didn't understand.
That was the training reimbursement. If I was not to stay to 3 years employed with the department, then I will have to pay back training and things throughout the academy, the tuition and things like that.
Do you intend to reimburse Gallatin for its training expenses?
Yes, sir.
Have you been able to make any reimbursement thus far?
No, sir, no, I have not.
You had a job in law enforcement since December?
No, sir.
can't get it because this is pending.
Yes, sir.
You believe you violated any state law when you opted not to go forward with your employment at Gallatin?
No, sir, I did not.
You believe you violated any department policy when you opted not to go forward with your job at Gallatin?
No, sir.
Do you believe that if there's a dispute as to the amount of money owed, that that would be a civil matter?
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything else you'd like to tell the commission?
It's- After all the hard work through the 9 weeks, it's unfortunate to be standing here. I don't know what, sometimes you do things you regret. You know, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. I really am, to you guys, to the department. But this is something that I want to pursue, and I would really love to be able to do that, regardless of what's happened. And so, other than that, just thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. And that's it.
Thank you. I'm throwing open for questions from anybody.
Mr. Bain, who accompanied you who represented the department the day you graduated?
I did, sir.
Who was there? Was there anybody else there?
Sergeant King, yes, sir.
Sergeant King with the Gallatin PD?
Yes, sir.
Did you mention anything to him about problems on the 4th week, personal problems, that you were going to have a hard time showing up a couple of days following graduation? Was there any conversation with any other member via phone or text or in person?
No, sir.
Why did you not bring that up on that day?
I was just, my mind was just everywhere else, being able to graduate, and my grandparents being able to be there. And just talking to them and seeing them was really always on my mind. I wasn't thinking much about it at the time. So,
Did you not think that it was going to be a hardship when you were told to report in at a certain time and date to your agency that had put a lot of value in you and trust? And the whole time you were thinking that you were not going to show up?
yes, sir.
You understand why this department is having such a hard time with this?
Yes, sir. I am.
And also when they show up to collect their gear and deal with you administratively, that they find marijuana in the home in which your gear is placed, and nobody's accusing you of smoking marijuana, but as a law enforcement officer, you have a moral turpitude and you have a code of conduct that you should have had freshly on your mind, that you was in a situation in or around that would have disgraced you and your department. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an excuse for that?
No, sir, I do not.
I have no further questions.
With the excuse.
Mr. Bain, I have one other question. Was there ever anything from the department to inform you that your resignation had been accepted?
No, sir. Other than what I sent, it was a human resource about leaving, and then I would be in Monday to talk with them and to turn my stuff back in. But other than that, that was the only contact that was made.
Anybody tell you your resignation has been rejected?
No, sir.
Mr. Bain, did you receive a return text message about your resignation?
No, sir, not from the chief, but I did from there was text received from me and human resources.
Was that on the 5th of December?
Yes, sir.
Sunday, the 5th, human resources was open?
Well, that was Heather. Her name was Heather. That's who I had spoke with. So I had a problem with a timesheet, and I told her that I'd be in Monday and he was to speak with them about what's going on and turn my stuff back in, that I would get it figured out Monday.
I don't have that on my iPad. How does the contract outline resignations?
That you're to pay back any type of training that you was given if you leave for 3 years.
Do you have to give 2 weeks notice, 30 days or anything like that, or?
I didn't see that in the training reimbursement contract, so
Did you sign a oath of office?
yes, sir.
Do you think you fulfilled that oath?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you.
Make a motion to move this to a formal hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
So motion to approve. Yeah, the motion will be that we will contact you regarding this matter, maybe to the full commission for a full hearing to determine what action to take.
Thank you, and thank you for your courtesy today.
All right, next on our agenda today, Tennessee Department of Safety and Ashley Hill. Will the Tennessee Department of Safety please step to the podium, and if you would, sir, identify yourself for the record.
I'm Sergeant Justin Hall on the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Assigned to our Office of Professional Accountability. Was not the case agent assigned to this case, but I'll give you the best knowledge here that I can. Trooper Hill, her employment began with the department in February 1st of 2014. We'll give you just a little bit of backstory to help understand kind of where we got to at the end. But, in August 5th of 2020, Trooper Hill was involved in a departmental injury crash while working some TDOT overtime shift on Interstate 81, which is in Jefferson County. Departmental crash packet investigation showed that she failed to yield to the flowing traffic, which was the primary contributing factor to the crash. The estimated total damage of damage to that crash was in excess of $107,000. Which she did ultimately receive a 10-day suspension. So on March 24th, 2021, Colonel Matt Perry requested for Trooper Hill to take a vehicle operations assessment from an independent third party due to concerns of her ability to safely operate a commercial vehicle. Which is one basic job function of being a Tennessee State Trooper. On April 5th, 2021, Trooper Hill went for this driving assessment. The instructor's role in this was not necessarily to pass or fail her, but more to document his observations of the driving assessment. He did note several issues during that driving assessment. One being she was prone to not remaining attentive while solely focused on driving. The instructor believed that it would have been worthwhile for Trooper Hill's vision to be examined, particularly her depth perception. They had some practical exercises, parking in parking stalls, making left turns and right turns. She got abnormally close 2 out of 3 times to a vehicle that, while making left turns into that parking stall. Also, while they were driving on an on-ramp to get onto I-40, she got onto the right shoulder to pass 2 or 3 vehicles that were driving abnormally slow, trying to get onto the interstate. So on May 10th, 2021, Captain Stephen Street, which is her district captain, requested the Office of Professional Accountability to conduct an overall summary of her disciplinary action, which also included this driving assessment. Her disciplinary history consisted of 9 administrative investigations since her employment in 2014. One of the 9 was for untruthfulness. One of the 9 was for failure to follow evidence procedures. 5 of the 9 were for her not operating her state patrol vehicle safely. 2 of them were for unprofessional conduct, which all resulted in 2 oral warnings, 2 written warnings, and 5 days suspensions, and totaling in 31 days without pay. And so after the review, a recommendation was made, which was approved by Colonel Perry, that Trooper Hill be terminated from the department. And she was terminated on June 7th of 2021, and she did not appeal the the findings through our Board of Appeal process.
Questions?
Just to clarify, there was progressive discipline such as oral warning, written warning, the suspension of determination.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Could you tell us again, when was she first employed with the department?
February 1st, 2014.
2014. Okay, so we're talking about roughly 7 years of service.
So she was involved in 5 different accidents.
Yes, sir.
And can you give us a little information on the unprofessional conduct?
Yeah, sure. Give me, I've got a few notes. Just let me go through that just real quick.
All right.
On March 28th, 2017, Trooper Hill was subpoenaed to appear in court before the Sullivan County Grand Jury. Trooper Hill told Assistant District Attorney General Blake Watson that she would only answer questions for the grand jury and not to ADA, to the ADA. Once Trooper Hill entered the grand jury room, she announced that she was only there to answer questions from the grand jury members. Trooper Hill was reluctant to sit in the witness seat and had to be told to sit down by General. Trooper Hill felt that the General was after his job and only subpoenaed her because he does not like her. Trooper Hill was criminally cited by General because of her negligent actions that caused in an injury crash that had previously happened. Trooper Hill admitted to the investigators that interviewed her that her actions were not acceptable, and she ultimately received a 10-day suspension.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
So,
Believe we have Ashley Hill on the Zoom or Teams. Ms. Hill, are you able to hear us? And
Yes, sir, I can.
all right, if you would just state your name for the record and give the commission your side.
My name is Ashley Hill. I had been employed with the Tennessee Highway Patrol since February 1 of 2014. I do still to this day believe that the DA, General Barry Staubus, has been personally after me and my job. He has made it extremely difficult for me to do my job. That particular day, I stood up for myself in front of the grand jury because he brought a personal case into that courtroom rather than focusing on the case at hand. So I simply defended myself, and he didn't like that very much. So from then on out, he continued to make my life hard. Also, there is evidence as far as the latest crash that I was involved in on August 5th, 2020. That, and I will stand to this day, believe that I was not at fault during that wreck. I was not in motion when that tractor trailer hit me at 70 miles an hour, and I almost lost my life. There has been video, came up actually last week, the first time I had seen it, of another trooper's dash cam that has several witnesses that were not included on the crash report. So saying on that video what they saw occur. So I believe everything that's in that report is inaccurate. On a different note, I have sought employment with a local agency here, and pending this investigation depends on my employment there. So I have no further.
Questions?
Bill, I understand that it's a totality of these investigations is why they dismissed you. Is that correct?
If that's what they say, then yes.
Did you contest or challenge any of these other investigations?
I believe there was one or two early on I had. Two of those were from when I was on FTO. I was not prior law enforcement. And also, I did not know that could be held against me from any training during FTO. So I was a little shocked at that.
So out of these other investigations, how many did you appeal?
I did not appeal.
So if you did not appeal them and you was innocent, why would you not appeal?
Because I wanted to continue to do my job. I was told that if I appealed, it could lead to bad consequences for me.
And how is that?
That I would lose my job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Hill, just a couple of questions for you. I'm curious about the last instance. After the last crash, were you immediately terminated at that point, or how did that work?
No, sir. Just as any a crash investigation is done, they get all the evidence, mark and measure the scene, photographs, witness statements, and one of our own completed the crash report, which I believe shows biasm. I have yet to see the final packet.
Your termination was essentially, I guess, the straw that broke the camel's back was that last crash. Would you agree with that?
I believe, yes, I do agree with that, but I don't agree with why.
Right, but I guess this is kind of a follow-up about the whole appeal process. Once you learned you were to be terminated, were you given the opportunity to appeal that termination?
Yes, however, at that time, Colonel Perry offered for me to sign a contract, and that contract pertained to, he offered me to keep my trooper pay, insurance, time, etc., if I would agree to come off the road as a commissioned officer and take another state position. However, he did not uphold his end of the bargain.
Was that in writing, or was it just verbal?
It is.
And the agreement was that you would no longer be a certified officer, you take another state position. Am I correct in understanding that?
That's correct. We had a meeting set up. We tried to have technical issues, not on my end. And after the technical issues, I couldn't get any kind of response from him. He ignored phone calls, emails, would not respond to me after that.
So again, just so I understand this, was there any discussion or anything in that written agreement pertaining to your certification specifically as an officer?
All it said, I would have to pull it up. I can't quote word for word, but it was to come off the road as a patrol officer and into a safer environment to continue my work with the state.
And based on that, you opted not to appeal your termination.
Correct.
And am I correct in understanding you understood this not to be a termination, but rather a reassignment? Is that-
Correct.
Okay, did you receive a written notice of termination at any point?
Yes, I did, but that's where the contract was attached to it.
Okay,
The reassignment offer.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Hill, do you have a copy of that contract?
I do.
Did you submit it for us to review today?
How would you like me to submit that?
I was asking to see if you submitted it already for us to review it, but I'll look through mine.
No, sir. Honestly, today I had no idea what to expect. So I was not prepared to submit anything today. But I have that readily available. I can email it, fax it, whatever you need.
We'll ask Cleve that question.
She can email it.
Right now.
You can email it.
Oh, what would be a email address?
She should have mine.
Do you have Investigator Bellows' email address?
Yes, sir. I still have
Joe
it.
Bello.
Mhm.
He's in the room. If you could just send that to him.
Okay, sure will. You'd have to give me a minute to scan it. It's a hard copy. I'd have to scan it in, upload it, and then email it.
Could we roll this to the hill of today's calendar and then take it back up after she sends her contract?
We can come
Yes.
back. If that's okay with her, we'll take a pause here and come back after you send stuff.
I'll make that
right.
motion. Roll it to the hill and come back after we get these others out.
Do we have a second for that? Second. All in favor?
Uh,
All right, it's motion carries. We'll move it to the heel. Next up is the Lenore City Police Department in the matter of Shannon Runyon. Mr. Runyon was terminated for violations of work rules. I know that we have Lenore City here. Shannon Runyon. Mr. Runyon, are you on Zoom? Was he was notified?
Properly served.
Was he notified and properly served?
It was sent to him, he's got a signature.
Has there been any contact with him other than that? He hasn't called or anything, has he?
Any contact besides this would be on the file.
Okay.
Doesn't look like his signature on the.
I just want to receive it.
Somebody received it at that address that he's
Keep about it.
All right,
required by rule to do this.
so we continue then.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, please. First of all, if both of you would state your names and then proceed.
Captain David Flynn with the Lenore City Police Department. I'm Jeremy Dishner, I'm Lieutenant with the Lenore City Police Department. In reference to this matter on Officer Shannon Runyon, you have the attached copies. Officer Runyon had been an officer with us for several years. So going back to Thursday, June the 3rd, which is included in the statement of disciplinary action that the city prepared. He was placed on medical leave by a doctor throughout the following 5 months into early September. He had exhausted his FMLA leave to the city, sick time, vacation, as well as additional time that's given to him for sick bank, which is an additional option for somebody who has a long-term medical issue. So this went on for several months. The chief, Chief Don White, and our city administrator on Wednesday, November the 3rd, contacted his attorney to try and advise them of the ongoing situation and come to some kind of solution to Mr. Roman's employment. Moving forward, they identified the sections of work rules as applies to the Lower City Police Department and the city of Lower City on some violations that he had. Those are all listed there. I can read through them if you'd like to. The pre-disciplinary hearing for him was held on Wednesday, November 3rd. His attorney was Representative Charles Burks, where they outlined the specific work rules that violated, and also at that time gave several other options for moving forward for Mr. Roman. Up until December the 29th, they did not have any contact with the attorney. At that point, Mr. Burks emailed the city administrator and said that he will not be able to return to work as a police officer with the Lower City Police Department. They also communicated that he would make a resignation on his behalf for his client, which never came. So following no correspondence from December the 29th until January the 11th, the city made a motion essentially to terminate his employment. The main reason why we're asking for the decertification is his inability to continue to follow post rules as far as medical requirements for the police officer. On the front part of it, it talks about there was no documentation from his treating physician, as well as our treating physician was not able to have an accurate diagnosis nor a plan of on improvement, but a plan for him coming back to work with whatever ailments he had. I believe there was some deception as well. Just a clear lack of communication between Shannon and our department.
Questions? I'm sorry, is it Lieutenant? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of questions. I'm kind of curious. Do you know what the reason was for him? What his medical issue was that caused him to initially take his FMLA?
Originally, it was a back injury.
Was it work related or was it something off duty?
No, it was. That's where the deception kind of comes in. We were told several different things. First, it was maybe a kidney stone. That was basically a nondescript back injury, which progressed to really no diagnosis from a physician.
No, I think you said that he had applied for extended leave.
Yes.
Beyond his FMLA, what he would have been entitled to.
Yes, he exhausted all what he was originally entitled to. Entitled to his vacation, sick time, personal days, comp time, all of that. And our sick bank is set up in such a manner that there's a board, including the chief, city administrator, and then other officials within the city that make the determination with documentation from the physician that comes to him and says, the person that I'm representing is asking for an additional 30 days due to this ongoing issue. And so he had exhausted those 2 30-day periods.
I guess one of the things I'm wondering is, did he actually receive any entitlements or not entitlements, but receive any benefits to which he was not already entitled because of his FMLA status?
There towards the end, yeah, I think there towards the end, essentially, he was not getting compensated. I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he still having insurance in the city.
After he exhausted all of his FMLA, he was not getting paid.
Okay.
And then his insurance lapsed also. He was supposed to pay his insurance after he was not getting paid because his insurance is taken out of his check. So he was not getting paid and he did not have insurance.
Okay. I guess kind of the point point I'm trying to reach is whether or not the department suffered any disadvantage or any detriment based on his claim and.
Yeah, in that particular situation, I mean, where he was out for most of that year, obviously, we had went through some staffing issues because of his inability to work. Just the normal, that was kind of an uptick in COVID and things like that. So we had some of those issues. In the grand scheme of things, it was just an inability to work. For us.
You needed that body to be working.
Yeah.
Let's see. Was there anything that was not related to this FMLA sick leave, not showing up for work issue that's a basis for the decertification, or is it all related to this?
Well, so I can answer that, but I would ask for some, not sure legally, but I don't want to violate anything.
Well, let me rephrase.
Legally, I don't know, but I think I know what you're getting at, but I don't know if legally if I can give you that.
Well, let me ask it this way. Previous to him going on this into this sick status, did he have other disciplinary issues over the years that he's been working?
Minor things, but the other stuff had happened while he
was inactive.
While he was
working staff.
Yes.
Okay, so those were not a basis for what's going on here today.
Ultimately, probably. Yes.
Okay, so it's just
without me knowing whether or not I can answer that and not violate.
There's just a little more on the fire.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many years did he work for you all together before he went on the 16?
About 4 years.
4 years. But again, no major issues, rather they're fairly minor, I'm guessing.
Minor write-ups.
He had some minor write-ups. He had, I'm trying to think what all he had. He had a few things, like paperwork issues. He just all of a sudden, stuff in June, he just decided to be out. But he had applied for a supervisor's position, and he had a real hard time. He did not get that, so he had some bizarre kind of behavioral issues. So over that, before that, but as far as like it's minor things, it wasn't anything that rose to the occasion of being suspended.
Nothing he would be fired over.
Absolutely. But during the time he was out, the city administrator tried to call him. Nobody could get a hold of him. Sent officers to his house, we still couldn't get a hold of him. Trying to get him to give us some updates as far as when he would return to work. But we heard nothing from him. The only thing we heard from him was every now and then his wife would email us. But he wouldn't answer the phone to the city administrator, the chief.
Basically kind of went unauthorized absence, AWOL, something.
Yes, sir.
Akin to that. If we were in the military, we would prosecute him for that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, he was AWOL, basically without an excuse. I mean, he had a doctor's note, but it was, they couldn't tell us return date, plan of action where he could be treated or anything like that. So he basically, the whole time though, we tried to get a hold of him, when you're going to return, didn't get a hold of him. His attorney didn't get a hold of him. An attorney, which was probably 3 or 4 months after he was out.
It just kind of fell off the grid and didn't communicate with him.
I did run into him while he was supposed to be on sick leave. He was out riding around in the Jeep. I seen him in the restaurant. So, I mean, that's why the lieutenant said thinks there's probably some deception here.
Riding a Jeep might not be good for your kidney stones.
Probably not good for a back problem. Plus, he was saying he got back issues and rode a motorcycle all the way to Chattanooga because they put that on Facebook. So it's that's the reason.
It's obvious where's he at with his in service? I'm sure has he done any in service, anything on Acatus or in
No,
the,
Sheriff, I submitted a waiver request on December the 31st, which should be in this file, just to keep us current and post rules. And then there was no answer. He was allowed to, through his attorney, challenge his termination, which we never received anything from either his attorney or him. And we've not had contact since then.
and we're showing in the file that he was properly notified for this and did service.
It's delivered to that address and signed for it. When they will send the lead on, whatever return usually send again, and sometimes that's what they call.
I make a motion to, by default.
Second.
On the grounds of termination for discipline.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion to approve by default for being terminated for disciplinary reasons. All in favor? Any opposed? Approved. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Have you received the documents, Rob?
Now, Ms. Hill, have you been able to send a document?
I did just send it.
Okay.
I'm not yet.
There should be 8 pages.
It may take just a moment. Our internet's just a touch slow here. We'll move on to the next matter on the agenda will be the Bartlett Police Department and Charles Siegel. Mr. Siegel resigned with disciplinary action pending for failure to maintain pre-employment requirements. That's Ms. Hills.
I'll give you one.
Like that was signed for. There it is. We're going to take another one. We're going to look at something on that particular matter. So I apologize. All right, Hendersonville Police Department and John W. Taylor. Mr. Taylor resigned with disciplinary action pending. It was substantiated that Mr. Taylor had broken several general orders. If the Hendersonville Police Department would step up to the podium and, yeah, Ben, he's here. So if you would, for the record, identify yourself and say your case.
Commander, Hendersonville Police Department.
Go ahead.
All right, sir. This case was brought to our department's attention December 2nd when a Sergeant Roller received information from a complainant, Elise Lasasso. And this was concerning several matters, including the distribution of pornographic photographs of the complainant by Officer John Taylor and possible criminal trespassing by Officer Taylor. Officer Taylor at that time was placed on administrative leave and remained on such through the month of December while this case was assigned to Sergeant Chris Gagnon of our criminal investigation to do an internal investigation. At the conclusion of his investigation, a departmental hearing was set for January 19th. And at that hearing, Ms. Lasasso, I understand, was present. And the counts that were made on that charge were 6 different counts. The first being distribution of private pornographic material, which violated our department's general order on code of ethics, in which it states, "I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, and I will be exemplary in obeying the laws of the land and the directives of my department." The second charge was distribution of private pornographic material under general prohibited conduct. Employees shall not be guilty of misconduct, neglect of duty, conduct unbecoming an officer, or acts tending to discredit the department, even though such conduct is not specifically set forth in these rules and regulations. The third was exposure to marijuana.
And this was also a violation of code of ethics that I read before. The fourth was exposure to marijuana, general prohibited conduct, already read to you. And then the fifth was exposure to marijuana, general reporting requirements, nature of incident to be reported. Employees who have reason to believe that a building or a part thereof is being used in violation of the law, or as the resort or residence of persons of questionable character, or that liquor, narcotic, prostitution, or gambling laws are being violated, shall forward same to his or her supervisor, and the supervisor will then report to the chief of police. The sixth and final was sleeping on duty. No employee in this department shall sleep while on duty. All six of these charges were substantiated following the departmental hearing conducted that day by Chief Miller and a board of officers, some of his Officer Taylor supervisors. I'll note that during the testimony of Ms. DeSasso during the departmental hearing, she indicates that Officer Taylor was living with her for over a month and a half, and that she was smoking marijuana in his presence daily, as she had a daily habit where she would buy a quarter ounce of marijuana at a time. Following all the information.
Not daily, she didn't buy a quarter ounce daily.
Sir, you'll have your opportunity.
Following that information presented during the departmental hearing and substantiating all those charges, the decision by Chief Miller was to terminate Officer Taylor. And following that, I believe there was another meeting where Chief Miller allowed Officer Taylor to resign termination. And then following that event is when we submitted our request for decertification.
Questions?
Did you all give Mr. Taylor a drug test? I am unaware if that was conducted. I wasn't involved in the internal investigation or the proceedings. Barry was designated to be here today as our department's GDI. And did he get terminated or resigned in lieu of termination? Resigned in lieu of termination. Thank you.
Just as a point of clarity, he was not accused of actually indulging in the use of marijuana. He was just.
No, sir, and it's my understanding that was not substantiated.
It was just failure to report the use or presence of marijuana.
Okay. And just to clarify, was he ever charged with a crime? No, sir. Okay, thanks.
Any further questions?
I got one more. Is there any kind of progressive discipline such as oral warnings, written warnings, suspensions up to this point? I'm unaware of any. Officer. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Here's no more questions for you. Mr. Taylor, if you would state your name for the record and then go ahead.
So John Taylor, formerly with Harrisonburg Police Department. Before I forget, before I begin, I would say that they asked me multiple times if I was willing to take a drug test. Every single time, I never denied that. I've never ever denied taking the drug test. So still want to forget that. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here and your attention to this situation. I apologize for you having to take the time and the effort to deal with my issue here. Let me make it clear that I desire to stay in law enforcement. Your decision today is very, very important to me. Your decision has a huge impact on my future and my career in law enforcement. It's my understanding that this panel has the authority to reinstate my certification if you so choose. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Currently, I have 2 agencies that are interested in me and willing to give me a second chance pending the outcome of your decision today of reinstatement. I'm a good officer and I made some poor decisions off duty. I take responsibility for that. I've learned from that. From day one of this ordeal, I've fully cooperated. As you can see, I don't have an attorney. Haven't gotten anybody else involved. I've stepped up to the plate. I've been open and honest, answered all the questions. I did break a few HPD policies and I take responsibility for that. However, I was not charged with committing any crimes or violating any laws. Although my actions were not criminal, I now have a better comprehension that as a law enforcement officer, I'm held to a higher standard ethically. I understand that. And I've learned some important lessons and grown as a man through it. My behavior off duty impacts my reputation as well as the reputation of my department. I have a better discernment with texting, communications. I'm more cautious with my relationships and people that I'm around, that I associate with. And I take measures to guard myself from any exposure and all exposure from illegal substances, in this case, marijuana. I was never suspended, discharged, or disciplined for this incident. The length of time and the duration of it lasted almost 50 days. However, that was the investigation began December the 3rd and was completed December 16th. It was then placed on the chief's desk, and he neglected to get to it for the rest of that length of time. I'm not blaming him. There was holidays involved. It's my understanding that he had COVID as well as his wife and pneumonia. So as far as the length of time that I was on paid administrative leave, it was not due to me or the investigation. It was simply that time of year during the holidays, as well as sicknesses that were occurring. But it was on the chief's desk within approximately 13 days, and the investigation was finalized. It then took longer to get to the hearing. Again, I thank you for your time and your consideration, and ask that you please reinstate my certification.
Questions? Officer Taylor, as far as the findings, now apparently the way they do it in Hendersonville, they have like a board that meets to consider the allegations that are.
So what I was being told throughout the process was that they had to do the initial investigation, and they would either decide to discipline me there or take it on based on the recommendations of administration to a board similar to this within the department.
And so you're understanding that's what happened, went to a board?
And that's what happened, yes, sir.
And there were some findings regarding, for example, and I'm just looking, just trying to recall exactly what it was, but there was a distribution of pornographic material.
So I had been dating a girl for quite a while, and all of these instances were from 5 to 6 months prior. She made an initial inquiry, not giving my name, asking about the breaking and entering, which I was with her for a long time. I stayed at her house overnight. Had been for approximately a month and a half, 2 months, but we've dated for a lot longer than that. I was in and out of her house a lot. I fixed her washing machine. I did her dishes. I fixed her doors. We were in a relationship. We've been together for 2.5 years, on and off. So yes, I was around her house, in and out, all the time.
With reference specifically to the distribution of pornographic material, is it something that got sent or texted to somebody else outside the relationship?
So this complaint began in December, at the beginning of December. I had sent a friend some pictures of her back in August that I was showing him, like, hey, this is the girl I'm dating. I'm very proud of her. And her breasts were exposed in the picture. Yeah, I don't deny, yes, I sent it. It was never any intent to cause any harm. Never charged with anything. The police department did the investigation of this incident, and her 2 questions were about the pictures and about breaking and entering. She did not name me. Sergeant Roller took it upon himself. I'm not Not blaming him, not shirking any responsibility that I have in this matter. He took it upon himself to name me in this and send it to CID. Sergeant Gagnon, being the good detective that he is, I'm not going to say coerced, but he talked her into allowing him to download her phone. And from that, all of the policy violations were discovered that had nothing to do with her initial complaint. And yes, I asked a friend of mine late on one shift, hey, can you meet up with me? I need to rest for a little bit. He pulled up, so that's why they're sleeping on the job. I don't deny that.
Is this your first job in law enforcement?
It is. I was in education for approximately 18 years as an athletic director, high school teacher, multiple subjects, and a coach.
Do you have any previous disciplinary history with the department?
No, sir.
And why did you ultimately choose to resign and go to termination?
Walking into the chief's office, Commander Rogan told me that I was going to be fired and that I could resign before that. So it surprised me, and I didn't know what to do. So.
And how long have you been employed there?
3.5 years.
And did you know that there's a possibility for you to lose your certification?
I had no idea. This is all very new to me, and
thank you.
Was there any assurance or any promise made to you that your certification would not be challenged, or that you would have the opportunity to work for another agency?
no, sir, that never came up, and I didn't know to even ask or inquire about it. Like I said, I haven't had any help throughout this process, and I have nothing to hide. I've been forthright and open. So no.
Mr. Tyler, you married?
I have been separated for approximately 6 years.
You have children?
I've raised 2 stepchildren, and they're grown.
What are you doing for an income right now?
I had savings for the last few months that I've been able to live on, and my mother's been helping me. I've been working through the process of getting hired at TSA, but I don't want that job. I want to stay in law enforcement, and spoken to Millersville as well as Sumner County Sheriff's Department. I've been in the process and applied, gone through the testing, and they've both just told me that they're very interested, but it's dependent upon today's decision.
I would reflect back on some other cases similar to this and that were probably worse than this one. Where I made the motion not to decertify. You've sat through this very first informal that we had here. You saw how harsh I was with that young man.
Yes, sir.
And I've got a problem that you graduate on Friday and you text your resignation on Sunday at whatever, something other AM. And then officers go and find marijuana. I have problems with this. I have problems with this association with drugs. I have this problem with this electronic use of dispersing unappropriate activities. I have a problem with that in our law enforcement. We wonder why we're scrutinized all the time, and we wonder why our profession is being degraded. We wonder why we're called everything under the sun, but that's okay for firemen. But I hear it and I see it in your voice, and I don't want to go against your department, but I think you deserve another chance. I just hope that you can overcome from this. You seem to be a highly educated individual. You seem to be an adult that knows better how to act in your conduct. And I'm going to make a motion that we deny decertification. That'll be my motion.
I'll second that. Thank you, sir.
All right, the motion is to disapprove. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Mr. Taylor, good luck.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
It's disapproved. Do you have, Investigator Bella, do you have the, okay. So I think if we go back and revisit Tennessee Department of Safety and Ashley Hill, I believe the information is now on the iPad for the contract documents.
Oh, yes, sir. It should be the right hand corner. There's no code documents. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Yep, there you go.
So Ms. Hill, this is Commissioner Parton, and I see here where you've signed, your objective was to, that you were looking at going into another non-commissioned potential department or another job, maybe within safety.
Yes, sir.
I guess it basically takes you out of a patrol car.
Yes, sir, it does.
Was there ever any conversation with anybody within the command of safety of what that might be, or did it never get that far?
That was the point of the mediation meeting where I filled out that form. And if you'll also, back to your appeal question, why I didn't appeal, I was instructed by a superior not to appeal pending this meeting with the colonel. Okay. So once I filled out the form that I was willing to go into mediation with Colonel Perry, I received a meeting date of August 9th, in which we had this meeting in my attorney's office. The state had technical connection issues. They discontinued the meeting with another rescheduled date of August 31st. Tried to get on there. They didn't show up, wouldn't respond to my emails, no explanation why.
What is your current status? I mean, where are you at with in work, and what are you trying to do right now?
So it has almost been a year since this that I heard that I would be hopefully reassigned into another position. Because I got no word, I had to borrow from my IRA, use all my savings. I've had to sell almost everything but my home in order to survive. I am currently pending employment with a local agency here, based on your decision, sir.
Which agency is that, ma'am?
Washington County Sheriff's Department.
I got one other question. I know you've had a series of accidents, and some of us may have some driving issues at times. And I see that you're wearing glasses. Have you had some eyesight issues that you didn't know about, or?
No, sir. Since my history of the Highway Patrol, I have my regular yearly exams. I've been checked twice on my own accord for the state's benefit, paid out of my own pocket for, to prove that I do not have a depth perception problem or any other issue that they might have been concerned about. And I passed with flying colors. They even sent me to the state's physician in Nashville. I believe his name is Dr. Belhar. Don't quote me on that. He subjected me to several eye tests that I had never had before that I passed with flying colors. I have that documentation as well, if you needed it.
Okay, well, I was just I was just wondering, because sometimes there is some things that are found that we don't know,
Yes, sir.
and it just happens.
Mhm. Like I mentioned, 2 or 3 of those was while I was on FTO. You know, very minor fender benders or a bird flying into my mirror damaging it, which in my opinion does not account for a wreck per se. However, in my opinion, I have had 2 major wrecks, one in 2016 and one in 2021.
What was your first duty assignment when you came out of the academy?
I was assigned to Sullivan County, patrol officer.
Is that where has that been your duty assignment ever since?
No, sir. After my first 3 years and many headbutting with General Barry Staubus, I transferred out of that county to Greene County. I furthered my training. I developed a sense for the federal code. I became hazmat certified, radioactive. I became very interested in that. I did it pretty well. I enjoyed my job then. So I believed I was finally where I was supposed to be.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hill, this is Commissioner Russell. On the last page, it says dispute and/or issue. Wish to mediate about this. Did you write the statement that you wish to resign from the Department of Safety as a commission member and apply for a non-commissioned position?
Yes, sir. That is my handwriting.
Okay, and you went for a mediation hearing on August the 9th,
Correct.
and then you had technical difficulties and rescheduled for August the 31st?
The state had, yes, sir, had technical difficulties and they asked to reschedule. When
What happened on the 31st, one more time?
I showed up for the meeting, could not get anybody online on the phone or by email. No one shows up. And no one would answer my emails as to why. I have still yet to this day receive an answer. Why I have been just ghosted, if you will.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I would like to ask the representative from the Department of Safety about that.
Okay, gentlemen. And if you would reintroduce yourself since it's been a minute or two.
Justin Roll, I'm Sergeant with Tennessee Highway Patrol. I do not know for a fact the reason why the department ceased dealings with the mediation portion of this. Reluctant. I've heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true. It's not true. So I don't know if I should say anything. So I kind of let that out in the beginning because I don't know if that portion is true or not.
So the department didn't address this before you came over on the mediation?
Right. I did not know anything about after she was terminated. I knew nothing else for a fact as of what happened during the mediation process.
Well, I personally think that since Ms. Hills got the documentation where she was offered, excuse me, offered mediation, and she looks like she put a good effort in doing that mediation, and apparently the Department of Safety ghosted her, as she said, I make the motion that we disapprove the request.
If I could just add one point to that, I'm still a little bit at a loss to understand how this could be considered a termination or any kind of disciplinary action. I think she got fired for bad driving. I'm not sure that's something that could be considered disciplinary, and so I'm kind of lost on that, but I would second your motion.
So I think looking over it, was the totality of the disciplinary action over however many years she worked there. I think there was like 9 of them. And from the way I understood it, I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I am, but it was a totality of the disciplinary action over that amount of time. So, but I think that she deserves the benefit of the doubt. And that's what I think.
It looks like most of that had to do with her driving skills or lack thereof.
That's
But I second your motion.
We have a motion and a second to disapprove these certification requests. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? It's disapproved.
Ms. Hill, do you understand what we just did?
I believe so. So I am able to keep my commission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I do have another question. Because of my wreck, I received a waiver for that year on my annual training. With that said, I am not positive what that expiration date is. Can you answer that for me? Or how long I would have to complete my next annual training with this department?
If you would just reach out to the post commission and contact them by telephone or email and get it.
If you would email Mr. Bello, ma'am, email, since you've already now have that, email him to remind
Yes,
your files. And that's a great question because most people wouldn't think to ask that question, and that's what gets them in trouble. So you're doing it, you've got a good start on getting going again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the agenda item of Charles Siegel, he was not actually served. It looks like it got hung up in Memphis on the 14th of February, not served on the 14th of February, and then disappeared into the ether. So that one will need to be rescheduled for the good service.
You need a motion.
Ms. Barlow, you're from Barlow PD? You drove all day here. Sorry.
Yes, we apologize. So we need a motion to,
The motion to move it to next month, I guess, unless we need 2 months.
Move to fully conserve it.
We probably need 2 months.
2 months.
Okay, move it to 2 months.
And we need to get a per diem to the representative from Weston.
JCP anyway.
Okay, well, that's good news. Okay. We'll confirm next time. You might call the day before.
We'll try to set it at the next week of month meeting that would coordinate with your arrival to the association maybe.
Okay, I don't know what address y'all have for him. I'm not quite sure he was living where he may be before.
when we conclude, if you want to give that to the investigators, that would be helpful.
Okay, I don't have the new address. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can see if they've got something from our personnel department. I just don't have it.
That'd be great if you could check that and send us the information update if you could. That helps us a lot. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion to push this off for 2 months. Second. Have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. That concludes our agenda for the day.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor? Thank you all very much.